all the grandchildren. I want to begin with a heartfelt thank you for your presence here today. I know some of you have traveled hours to be here, and it is most appreciated by the family. So thank you. It's also heartwarming to see so many young people in the room today. It's an important and encouraging reminder that cycle of all of you know so well. They made sharing happy with people and animals and so on. So it is today, even though Terry has made his way home to his heavenly Father, that his spirit remains very much with us today, and he is most certainly smiling at the sight of the people he loves all gathered together to honor and celebrate his life. So many kids in the room today, it seems appropriate to begin our celebration with the timeless words of Dr. Seuss, who counsels us with these 11 words. Don't cry because it's over. Give thanks because it happened. So that is what I invite all of us to do today as we remember Terry. Let us give thanks for a life well lived. Let us give thanks for the positive and lasting impact that Terry has had on our lives as a husband, as a father, as a friend, as a grandpa, and as a great grandpa. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Paul Darwish, and I am the lucky hat that goes with Terry's beautiful daughter, Tanya. When she asked me to say a few words to commemorate Terry's life, I happily said yes. The and deep sadness present here today, knowing that we will no longer be blessed with Terry's physical presence in our lives again. My hope is for us to proceed, just as Tanya reminds me every day, by giving thanks. Terry touched each of us in different ways, but we were all blessed by him to be sure. And because of that, my invitation is for us to allow gratitude and appreciation to be our guides as we celebrate his extraordinary life. Ronald Terry Justice was born on a Tuesday, on the 5th of August, in 1941. Passed away at home in the loving care of Bonnie and Cameron on Wednesday, June 12th, at the age of 82, having spent more than 30,000 days on this planet and leaving behind a beautiful legacy, as is evidenced by the love present here today. Terry was born and raised in the city of Norwood, back in the day when it was a thriving center for automobile manufacturing. Not surprisingly, then, cars would become one of his great passions as a teenager. He liked them loud and he liked them fast, said his friend Kenny with a laugh. Bonnie recalls Terry getting access to his family's brand new 1955 Ford Crown Victoria as a 15-year-old junior, even before he had gotten his driver's license. Bonnie, who was a year behind Terry in school, attended the all-girls St. Mary's High School in Hyde Park, while Terry attended Norwood High School. She was introduced to him at a drag strip out by Beachmont Levee by her friend Sandra. When asked what she remembers about the young man she met in high school, Bonnie describes Terry as being handsome, respectful, loving, and fun. Bonnie recalls much of their early dating life revolving around cars and Terry's love for speed. He would hang out at the original Frisch's mainliner down on Wooster Pike in Fairfax, just waiting for guys who wanted to race. They would drag race down Route 50, hitting speeds well over 100 miles an hour. It was something just like you might see in the movies, Bonnie told me. Nothing gave him more pleasure. When I asked if he ever got in trouble drag racing or got cited with any tickets, Bonnie couldn't remember. God, no, at least not back then. Then there was a time later on in his souped up Chevelle, she told me, when they were out for a family drive on Route 28 with his mom Estelle in the car, and he got pulled over for doing well over 100 miles an hour. His mom, who was a little feisty, like Terry, tried to intervene and convince the officer that her son really wasn't speeding, but the fact the very expensive ticket he got said otherwise. Terry graduated from Norwood High School in June of 1959, by which time he and Bonnie were engaged to be married. Shortly after graduation, as his friend Kenny tells the story, Both he and Terry were talked into enlisting in the U.S. Navy by a mutual friend. Funny thing is, though, Kenny continued, that friend never enrolled. It was just Terry and me. The other not so funny thing, perhaps, although Bonnie does tell the story with a laugh today, is that Terry signed up for the Navy without ever telling her. When he told me what he had done, I took his ring straight to the jeweler, sold it back, and paid off my car with all the money, she recalls. Terry and Kenny completed boot camp together and jet engine repair training together down in Tennessee to become aviation mechanics. Upon completion, Terry was sent west to be stationed in California. Terry also went to work on repairing his relationship with Bonnie. They began corresponding again after a few months, and the following summer, Bonnie made the trip out west via train, and the two of them were married in California on August 15th, 19. 1 year later, on July 4th, 1961, their one and only, the one and only, Tanya Marie Justice was born. Unfortunately, Terry had been deployed to Japan during this time, but as the original Morse code correspondence the Navy used to let Terry know that he was now. After 4 years of military service, Terry returned to Cincinnati in 1963. Not long after returning home, he landed a job at the railroad where Bonnie's dad worked. He and Bonnie soon bought their first home together in Pleasant Plain. The fact that Terry would retire from the same company, which eventually became CSX Railroad, some 38 years later, speaks to several qualities that defined him as a man. He was loyal, he was hardworking, honest, responsible, respectful, and a man of his word. Speaking of loyal, it's worth noting that Terry had the same job, the same wife, and the same best friend his entire life. This fact reminds me of the saying that a man's friendships are one of the best measures of his worth. And given that, and based on my conversation with his best friend, it is safe to say that Terry did indeed live a very rich and valuable life. Terry could not have been a better friend to me. Kenny shared with me this week, filled with emotion. He was like a brother to me, just the nicest guy, easygoing, hardworking, honest, always looking to be helpful. And he was always there for me, both in the good times and in the challenging times. I cannot think of one bad word to say about him, and I miss him already. Even though Terry and Bonnie lived in Pleasant Plain and Kenny and his wife lived in Norwood, their families would get together almost every weekend, playing cards, talking late into the night, and working on various house and yard projects. The families even shared a station wagon on vacation, road tripping south to Disney World together with the kids. When asked what she remembers about the trip, Tanya recalls that it was a special time in their lives, and dad always had so much fun with Kenny. Terry loved being a father. He so loves his little girl. He always had time for me. It made me feel like I was the most important thing in his life, Tanya told me. I remember as a young girl, whenever I would have sleepovers for my friends, my dad and my mom would always work to make it a very special event, ensuring everyone had such a fun and memorable time. Terry's qualities of patience and respect and being a good teacher all helped make him a wonderful father to Tanya, as did the daily example he set by being such a hard worker and honest man. I can still hear his words, Tanya recalls, when at a fairly young age, he would say to me, Marie, because that's what he called me when he was serious. Marie, the most important thing is for you to always give your best effort. Strive to be your personal best. As long as you do your best, whether that results in an A or a C on your report card, doesn't matter. I'll always be proud of you for giving your best. Tanya also fondly remembers how her dad treated everyone he met with respect, regardless of their job or station in life. Whether it was the mailman, the garbage man, or a repair technician coming out to the house, my dad was always so kind and appreciative and respectful. Marie, he said to me on more than one occasion, just remember that no one else is better than you, and you're no better than anybody else. My mom and dad were always both so hardworking, Tanya remembers. He was always so physically determined, and he showed me and he encouraged me, and most importantly, he made me feel like there was nothing I couldn't do if I set my mind to do it. That was such a wonderful life lesson she shared with me during the walk this past week. On a more lighthearted note, Tanya also relays the story about her dad at the time of Bonnie's birth. Now, it's important to remember that Bonnie is number 4 in the birth order. Little Wally, Cameron, and Brent had all been born years earlier. Bonnie, being the first girl grandbaby, suddenly had Terry concerned about his health and wanting to make sure that he would be around for his grandkids. So, in the waiting room that day, the day of Bonnie's birth, Terry swore off smoking, promising to quit that day and never smoke again. As a man who was always true to his word, Terry never did light up again. The process gave the boys in the family some good ammo for future ribbing about how they just weren't good enough for Grandpa to stop smoking, but Bonnie certainly was. Speaking of the grandchildren, it was and it is a beautiful thing to behold how much they love their grandpa, and he certainly loved them. When I asked Bonnie, or B as he called her, what made Terry most happy, she said without hesitation, simply being at home surrounded by his family. He loved having Tanya and her kids around, and then the great grandchildren too. When I asked the grandkids to give me some words that came to mind when they think about their grandpa, here are just some of the ways that they described him: loving, caring, selfless, warm hearted, compassionate, unconditional love, respectful, proud, diligent, hardworking, mindful of others' feelings, and selfless. For the record, if this were a Family Feud kind of survey, the number one response on the board without question would be loving. So if you take nothing else about the life of Terry Justice, this one insight would be enough, wouldn't it? His wife, his daughter, his best friend, his grandkids, and the great grandkids, without exception, all describe him first and foremost as loving. Now that is a beautiful legacy. My grandpa had an unwavering belief that family is the most important thing in life, Brent shared. His entire world revolved around our family, and he made sure we all felt valued and cherished every single day. He and grandma were the bedrock of our family and devoted their lives to supporting and nurturing us in every way. Brent went on to say, I hope that we as a family can honor their legacy by always putting family first and living our lives with the same love and dedication that they showed us. This image and reference of Terry as a rock or bedrock, as a loving father and grandfather who always put his family first, who was always there to help in time of need, was echoed in every single conversation I've had this week. The house that he and Bonnie built was designed and built with their family in mind, and it was, and it remains, the source of so many sweet memories. Grandpa and Grandma's house, the in-ground pool and the pond for fishing, not to mention the best home-cooked meals, is always the place for family get-togethers, Stacy says enthusiastically. He loved his family unconditionally and would always have open arms and an open door for anyone who needed it. So whether he was shooting clay pigeons with the boys, teaching one of the girls how to ride a four-wheeler, or sitting side by side with one of them at the workbench in the garage, Grandpa was always a terrific, patient teacher. He always made sure to be very clear in showing them exactly how things worked, including the dangers that might be associated with whatever activity that they were doing. And he was also really good about giving the grandkids the freedom to experiment, to learn on their own by doing, have fun, explore, and even the space to fail. Both the grandkids and grandma also talked about how even the initial challenge of clearing their new property, which was overgrown with trees and weeds, was made to be a fun and memorable experience with cookouts, bonfires, and overnight camping. Without question, Grandpa instilled in all of the grandkids the value of hard work, but he also ensured they had fun along the way as well. As a kid, Brent recalled nothing made me happier than those times in the garage with Grandpa working side by side and then enjoying popsicles together afterwards. I suspect Terry would say the same thing if he were here today to speak with us. For him, it was the simple things in life that brought the most pleasure. He loved his family, he loved his home, he loved his farm, and as you know so well, he loved his animals horses, goats, cats, too many others to count or name. Of course, his beloved dogs, Junior, and then Buddy, who he compassionately rescued from the side of the road. Indeed, the love and care that Terry showed for all of the animals on the farm is something to behold, and a beautiful reflection of the tender heart that Terry carried within. I only had the pleasure of knowing Terry for the past few years, so I'm sure there are plenty of things I've missed, and I know there are many more generous tributes to be paid. But I really want to finish by sharing this with the family. It was an absolute honor to listen to your stories this week and a beautiful gift to bear witness to capture the overwhelming sense of love and appreciation that you have for the man who was your husband, your father, your grandpa, and your great grandpa. So we're going to close this part of the service with one of Terry's favorite songs, "The Wind Beneath My Wings." It's a special memory that Grant shared with his mom, how he loved listening to the song as he and grandpa worked side by side on the farm. So as the song plays, I invite you to sit back, savor one of Terry's favorite songs, and as you do, maybe offer up a prayer or silent message to Terry about how grateful you are for the way he touched your life. At the end of the song, if anyone feels compelled to share a memory or story about Terry, I invite you to come up to the podium. And again, on behalf of Bonnie and Tanya and all the grandchildren and great grandchildren, thank you for taking time today to honor the extraordinary life of Terry.
It must have been cold there in my shadow to never have sunlight on your face. You were content to let me shine your way. You always walk a step behind. So I was the one with all the glory, while you were the one with all the strength. Beautiful face without a name, across the home. Beautiful smile behind the pain. Did you ever know that you're my hero? And everything I would like to be. I can fly higher than an eagle. You are the wind beneath my wings. It might not appear to go unnoticed, but I've got it all here in my room. I want you to know the truth. Of course, I know I would be nothing without you. Did you ever know that you're my hero? You're everything I wish I could be. away. Did I ever tell you you're my hero? You're everything, everything I wish I could be. Oh, life, I can you are the wind, my wind. 'Cause you are the wind beneath my wings. Oh, wind beneath my wings. You are the wind beneath my wings. You let me fly so high. You the wind beneath my wings. Oh, you the wind beneath my wings. Thank you, thank you, thank God for you, the wind beneath my wings.
That was awesome, Paul. Thank you. Um, thank you all for coming. On behalf of the family and I, we greatly appreciate it. I know, looking around at everybody, tell you my grandpa loved each and every one of you all. It was interesting how he showed love a lot of times. Some might call it tough love, but he loved. And that song, "He Was the Wind," beneath our wings. He was the glue, the rock, truly the foundation of our family. Uh, he was our everything. Without having a good, strong foundation, you can't have a stable house. And he kept our family together, and he was proud of who he was. I was blessed to be named after my grandpa Ronald, and I always remember when he would say his full name. It was it wasn't the best of occasions. It was probably 5:30 on a night that supper was being served. Fried pork chops, mashed potatoes, green beans, big glob of cottage cheese, fresh diced tomatoes, and that phone would ring, and he'd slam the fork down, and he'd say, "B, I see, they're calling again," like it was grandma's fault. And this is 2020, and they still had the landline, and he'd answer the phone. You know what time it is? You know we're eating supper. Well, who you think you're calling? This is Ronald Terrence Justice. And he said it with authority, with pride. He was proud of his name. He was proud of who he was. He's proud of where he came from. He was proud of and he loved the country that he served. Um, he was proud of his friends, his best friend Ken, that he served next to, not just in the Navy, but throughout his life. Ken was always there. But what he was what he was most proud of was grandma. His wife, who he called Bee, was mom. His daughter, we called Marie. Us kids, who we became, the spouses that we brought into our family, and the little ones that we gave to the great grandchildren. He was proud of all of them. And I don't think he ever really knew it, but he was proud, but it was all because of him. That's one thing that I know he knows today, down on everyone here, proud of all of us. And I'm proud of my grandfather. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Grant. Is there anyone else who would like to share a story in memory of Terry? Great. Again, on behalf of Bonnie and Tanya and the grandkids and great grandkids, thank you so much for being with us today and honoring the life of Terry. So thank you.